Very warm welcome to this session. Today's topic is so special. For those who remember, on March 21st, 2018, Rwanda witnessed a landmark of Africa Continental Free Trade Area agreement that was signed here in Kigali at the Convention Center, and 44 countries signed on spot. FCDA is one of the flagship projects of the first 10-year implementation plan, 2014-2023, under the Africa Union's Agenda 2063. The Africa we want, realistically, what do Africans really want? Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And this one said, I want to hand over to Seth, the Executive Director of EPRIN, for his opening remarks, and very much looking forward to a fruitful conversation.
Currently, not only here, but also everywhere, we are trying to see how Africa can be resilient, how Africa really can be, based on its competitive advantages and really be where we want to be. All of us, we know what we always say, Africa we want. Africa we want is what? So we are happy to discuss where are we and where we want to go. And from my perspective, from what I believe, this is something which cannot be achieved with only politicians. Political level, they can sign those agreements, they can, conclude some agreements, some protocols, but then there is a role to be played by me and by you. Because having the agreement signed is one thing, but also having the means to implement it is another area. So it's good that today we are with the participants from various countries. Maybe after the key presenters, we can also hear from them questions or comments to exchange what is being done at national level or also at regional level to make sure these very nice documents are being implemented to benefit the citizens of our continent. What can we do as a way forward to contribute to what others are doing in terms of materializing this document of African Continental Free Trade Area or the protocols and the other agreements? I thank you for responding positively to our invitation. This session is organized by EPN and FES together. It's always a pleasure to have you on board, and I wish you really fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Today we'll be discussing the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and the emphasis will be on what's the status. So our presenter is Mrs. Peace Basemera Mugisha, who is an international trade expert and a private consultant on trade-related matters. She's currently a national representative for African women in trade, an enterprise based in Germany, promoting women and youth businesses through investor connections and marketing of African products in Europe. She has been serving as a project coordinator under PSF Chamber of Women Entrepreneurs from 2019 to 2021. So that is our very experienced speaker. And we'll also have Mr. Eric, who is an electrical engineer and social law master's degree. He is a former Secretary General of CESTRAL, which is the Workers' Trade Unions Confederation in Rwanda. He worked there from 2002 to 2002 and was also a workers' representative and member of many labor consultative bodies in Rwanda. He is on the RSSB Board of Directors, International Labor Organization, governing body, and International Trade Union Confederation General Council. He's the chairman of East African Trade Union Confederation from 2017 to 2020. And since 2020, he's been the Deputy General Secretary of Africa Regional Organization of ITUC, which is based in Lomé in Togo. So you can imagine all this expertise that we have on our disposal. So I would just invite Mrs. Peace to start with her presentation.
The agreement has trade in goods protocol, in services, and their annexes. It has also the rules of origin and also procedures on dispute settlement, because some grudges or misunderstanding or mistreatment of goods will be resulting from implementing the free trade area. So that's why there is a dispute settlement mechanism under the agreement. The second phase, which is being done currently, is on protocol on competition policy. Consultations have started, and also training people on competition policy. Intellectual property rights, it has also started. And also protocol on investment. How will the investors be treated, and how the investment will be promoted in our respective countries, but adhering to the protocol on investment in the continental free trade area context. Africa, we are at 16% when we are trading among ourselves, where North America is at 22%, Asia it is at 60, and Europe at 67. So for us, we are still trading more with other countries in the world, especially US and Europe, and now Asia coming up. But among ourselves, we've not gone far. What the CFTA means to us, it means that we have demolished all tariffs at 90%. To call it substantial in the language of World Trade Organization, you call something substantial when at least you have liberalized more than 80. So the ambition for Africa to be more liberalized among themselves, they wanted to have substantial trade and substantial liberalization, and then they decided to liberalize up to 90% of tariff lines over the period for 5 years for non-developed countries, and for 10 years for those that are under development, least developed countries that Rwanda is among. Without rules of origin, you cannot start trading, because that is the determinant of where goods are coming from and how they are treated by customs when they reach the destination country. So being at 81%, there are some that we will see on this slide that is hindering them to be completed. Trading will be done on tariffs, and the phase down will be accordingly with the linear approach from first year to second year, reducing from 25, 22, and others until it becomes zero. So for trading services, what has been agreed upon, the sectors that have been agreed upon among trade sectors that are recognized by World Trade Organization and UNCTAD, only 5 were highlighted and indicated as priority sectors, and others would be done later. So the mechanism that we've been using at ESC level, at COMESA level, of reporting NTBs and monitoring them to help the traders move freely without any barriers when they are moving their goods from one point to another, is also under the CFTA. You know, there are 8 RECs, regional economic communities, that make up African Union, and those are the ones that are recognized to negotiate, to be part of the negotiations, and also to be implementing their free trade area or customs union in their respective continental, in their respective regional economic communities. So reaping the benefits of the continental, as I said before, is not automatic. It needs a lot of things. It needs investment, it needs increasing production capacity, it needs trade facilitation across borders and also in the country. The infrastructure is so important in a trade. So reaping the benefits also will depend with the infrastructure that will be allowing traders to move. So import also defense, this comes also in a form of trade remedies to see how are we managing our imports versus our exports and versus our domestic production, so that we cannot only be a market for other countries, but we have at least for us for export and also for home consumption. So these are estimated benefits that we hopefully maybe it will be achieved. So in East Africa, this is what we have. There should be active involvement in the negotiations, those that have not yet been finalized. There should be training sessions on continental protocols so that the private sector people, including the academia and research people. These are actions that Rwanda have done. So they have developed a strategy, implementation strategy, where even those training sessions and awareness will be embedded in, and also putting up the committee to oversee the implementation of continental free trade area. So that is what the ministry have done, so that the implementation will be in a full mode.
This was very insightful. I'm just going to immediately invite Mr. Eric Manzi his comments before we open it to the larger audience for questions.
What we know is that in terms of population, of course, the ACFTA will be the largest free trade area in the world. It is estimated that 86% of employment of the continent on the continent is within the informal economy. We have many small and medium enterprises. This is compared in the other continent, in Asia or Americas, in Europe, etc. So because of that, there exists high level of vulnerability within the informal sector, especially for women. One of the problem also I can raise here is the problem of the jobs, because one of our problem is if even in the document used, even in the protocol are already negotiated, you know, they can't mention precisely what is the strategy we can put in place in terms of to create that jobs. All the four pillars of the decent, what we call the decent work agenda is missing in this process. We need to incorporate the four decent work pillars: employment creation, social protection issue, right at work, and social dialogue. It's very important, and it can contribute significantly on towards the social justice for all workers. What I said previously, in this regard, we are very disappointed to learn that in ACFTA the not include any labor provision or any reference to the creation of decent work. It's a terrible situation. We need to have to incorporate the integral part of trade agreement to put the labor provision inside, to avoid any loopholes through which they can be bypassed. Take caution for misleading words used within ACFTA. The clauses must be clear without any room for misinterpretation. It's very important. Another point is manufacturing. Yes, we need in Africa to have a large, to increase the services, manufacturing, but also we need actually to be realistic, because in a short time we need to work on agriculture. The agriculture is very important in Africa, especially because it can create more employment. In Africa, we have more than 15 regional integration arrangements across the Africa continent, and with overlapping membership of various countries. As you know, many countries are member of many regional integration arrangements. The question is, if we have some problem to implement that that regional arrangement can be sure that the big free trade agreement in continental African continent can be implemented well, or we continue to have that underperformance. We must to be careful. Another point is concerning the tariff reduction, especially the question of non-tariff barriers. You know, the tariff is one of the source, is the source of income we need, generate income. To eliminate all the tariffs or a part of the tariffs, we need to be careful because of, you know, the disparity of or the level of different countries. Another point is the question of rules of origin. The rule of origin, what we say, it can prevent to abuse by the foreign companies as well as product dumping, especially without inadequate rule of origin. The multinational companies can take advantage of the zero tariff implemented through the ASFTA. We need to protect ourselves. But another point, and another very important thing is we need to be more flexible in terms of rules of origin also, because if you put many constraints, you can discourage the businesses. And we see, let's balance. You have the balance to not discourage the businesses in one part, but another part to be more careful in terms of our protection. The last point is we need, as a citizen, you know, to be part of that process. The free trade agreement, the African Free Trade Agreement, it's a big dream. It can be reality.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. So we're going to jump into questions. We have a few questions in the chat. I have a private question that came in as well. The first question came from Anthony Moriah, who said, what major factors underlay the current low 16% intra-trade in Africa? Will the AFCFTA be able to overcome these factors? So Mrs. Peace, this is for you.
Under our configurations, under our regional economic communities, we don't trade together. That's why it has been very low. But as the continental comes, whereby all the lakes will now put together to see how they can trade together, then it will increase. My expectation, or even the expectations from other performers like African Union and Economic Commission for Africa, we expect it to increase. But it will increase after there is fully implementation of the Continental Free Trade Area. For the third parties, when it comes, then it should attract tariff. But what will come from Africa, it won't attract tariff, hence increasing importation and exportation of various products.
The next one, so it's a private question that came in. You know, even in the most integrated African regions, there are enduring challenges with member states failing to adhere to the free movement of people and trade protocols. How do we see the implementation of this agreement taking place successfully?
These challenges, as they are being addressed in the respective regional economic communities, there are 8 recognized regional economic communities by African Union. So as they integrate at continental level, they are trying also to remove existing challenges so that they integrate more at continental level when their own challenges have been removed. So it will reach a time, if they continue to persist, they will reach a time, and the chairpersons in African Union with the Secretary General, with the ministers of trade, they sit and say, these are the measures that are being put to implement protocol on trading services with regard to free movement of people.
Ruzima Martin, he says about a third of the countries in the sub-Saharan Africa have been affected by conflict in recent years. And therefore, conflicts cause the loss of human life, destruction of infrastructure, human capital, and institutions. Political instability and greater uncertainty associated with conflicts can impede investments and economic growth. Also, both military expenditures and public debt keep on raising while hindering investment. So I think he's saying, in the light of all of this, how do you see the implementation of the AFCTA? And I'm thinking maybe he's asking for, specifically those regions that might have increased instability and cases of unrest. How do we see this working in those contexts?
About the instability in these countries, the Continental Free Trade Area, through their peace governance department and the heads of state that would help, they will be also dealing with that, so that Africa is not only does not only showcase conflicts and instability, but they have also to concentrate on economic development. So it will be possible, though the conflicts are still existing, but as it has started, even now, there are projects that bring the countries together, so that trade can bring peace, and the two countries that maybe are conflicting can settle down.
The free trade can play the role to oblige some country to comply of some requirements. And one the requirement is the peace, the stability, because if you are unstable, we can create some instability in your neighboring country, and you can create some instability in the trade between the different countries, but also especially in the trade, inter-trade in Africa.
Yeah, thank you both. I think my key, one of the things I'm realizing as you continue to answer these questions is that, a lot of these, potential challenges have been thought through, and, some mechanisms are already in place to manage and regulate some of these concerns. So thank you. This brings us to the end of our conversation. It was a very insightful conversation. Thank you to FAS and EPRN. Thank you to the audience, everybody who asked questions. You've made this discussion very lively, and we have all benefited from it.
All right. Thank you very much, Anisi, for such a great moderation as always. All the way from Lomé in Togo, Eric Manzi, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your knowledge about the topic. And as always,
thank you.
One thing we can promise is that we will always reach out to you for such conversations and to engage with our audience. Peace, thank you so very much for such an insightful and educative presentation, and very much looking forward to engaging with you. So this one said, I really thank you on behalf of EPRN and the FES. The audience, huge thank you for being here and for interacting with our speakers. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.